The rebellion we know was built on hope, on the ideals of freedom and democracy. A desperate struggle by idealists willing to sacrifice everything to restore liberty to the galaxy. But what if the greatest criminal syndicate in the galaxy decided the Empire was bad for business? Imagine a galaxy where Prince Xizor, not Mon Mothma, orchestrated the fall of the Emperor, where assassins, not idealists, became heroes, where the moral clarity of good versus evil blurred into something far more complex. This isn't just another what if. This is the untold story of how the galaxy's most powerful crime syndicate nearly toppled the greatest power in the universe, not for freedom, not for justice, but for profit and revenge. A darker rebellion with methods the Jedi would never approve, but that might have been more effective than anything we saw in the original timeline. Before we dive into this alternate timeline, you need to understand exactly what Black Sun was and why it posed a threat even the Emperor might have feared. Founded centuries before the Empire, Black Sun wasn't just another crime family. It was a shadow government with tentacles reaching into every level of galactic society. Where the Hutts controlled territory, Black Sun controlled information, blackmail, and influence. At its height under Prince Xizor, Black Sun controlled everything from spice running to slavery, weapons dealing to corporate espionage. Their information network rivaled that of Imperial intelligence. Some reports suggest certain Imperial intelligence operations actually relied on Black Sun data, creating a dangerous dependency. Unlike the Hutts, who were content to rule their small territories, Black Sun operated everywhere, even on Imperial Center itself. Their agents infiltrated banking clans, trade federations, and even the Imperial bureaucracy. While the Emperor focused on military might, Black Sun built influence through secrets and leverage. The syndicate originated during the Old Republic era as a protection racket on Coruscant, gradually expanding under leaders who recognized the value of political manipulation over territorial control. By the Clone Wars, Black Sun had become sophisticated enough to profit from both sides of the conflict. And here's the critical point. Xizor personally hated Darth Vader. The Dark Lord had ordered an attack that killed Xizor's family. This vendetta would become crucial in our alternate timeline. The Falline homeworld suffered a biological weapons accident under Vader's supervision. To contain the outbreak, Vader ordered the sterilization of an entire city, killing millions, including Xizor's relatives. The Empire covered up the incident, but Xizor uncovered the truth. This wasn't just business for Xizor. It was deeply personal. Yet, ever calculating, he kept his true feelings hidden, playing the loyal Imperial supporter while secretly planning his revenge. As a Falline, Xizor possessed natural pheromones that could influence human emotions, an ability he used to manipulate Imperial court members without their knowledge. In our real timeline, the Empire tolerated Black Sun because they were useful and didn't directly challenge Imperial authority. Palpatine understood the value of a controlled criminal element. It kept the populace fearful, justified increased security measures, and provided services the Empire could use while maintaining plausible deniability. But what changed in our alternate reality? It began with Emperor Palpatine's sector governance doctrine. As Moffs tightened their grip on their territories, shipping regulations became stricter. Bribes that once worked suddenly didn't. The standardization of Imperial protocols eliminated the corruption loopholes Black Sun had exploited for decades. The Empire's ruthless efficiency was bad for business. Black Sun's profits plummeted by 60% within 3 standard years of the Empire's formation. Profit margins on spice running fell below sustainable levels. Weapons deals were intercepted with alarming frequency. Even the protection rackets faltered as Imperial security demonstrated they could actually protect businesses better than criminals could threaten them. Then came the executions. Rather than imprison smugglers, local Moffs began making examples of them. Even Black Sun wasn't immune. 3 Vigos, Xizor's top lieutenants, were publicly executed on different worlds within a single standard month. The message was clear: No criminal enterprise was untouchable. This is where our timeline splits. Instead of working around imperial obstacles, Prince Shizor called his remaining 9 Vigos to a secure meeting on Mustafar, choosing this location as a deliberate symbol, the very world where Darth Vader had been broken and rebuilt. The decision was clear. The Empire had become an existential threat to Black Sun's operations. Adaptation was no longer sufficient. Direct opposition was necessary for survival. The Empire's network of informants was growing too sophisticated. Multiple Black Sun operations had been compromised within a single standard month. Long-established smuggling routes were suddenly crawling with Imperial patrols. The criminal syndicate found itself constantly on the defensive. Most critically, Shizor had obtained classified Imperial intelligence assessments. These reports revealed Palpatine's long-term strategy to use Black Sun temporarily while building an Imperial infrastructure that would ultimately make criminal organizations obsolete. The Emperor planned to eliminate all competition for power, legal or illegal. Palpatine wasn't just building an empire, he was creating a closed system where only he controlled access to resources, weapons, and power. Black Sun didn't announce their rebellion. They didn't need to. They already had what the Alliance spent years building, a galaxy-spanning network of operatives. Their first strikes were invisible. Imperial supply shipments vanished. Corrupt officials who once worked with Black Sun were found dead. Communication relays mysteriously failed. 6 months in, an Imperial-class Star Destroyer, the Adjudicator, exploded in orbit around Eriadu. Official reports blamed a reactor malfunction. The early Rebel Alliance was suspicious when Black Sun representatives reached out. Mon Mothma initially refused to work with criminals. Bail Organa, surprisingly, argued in favor of the Alliance. Historical records show him recognizing that principles might need to be compromised to achieve victory. The arrangement was simple. Black Sun would provide intelligence, weapons, and ships. The rebels would provide legitimacy and a public face that could eventually govern. The Alliance was tense from the beginning. Rebel commanders were uncomfortable with Black Sun's methods, while Black Sun operatives found rebel ethics inefficient. Yet both sides recognized the necessity of cooperation. As Black Sun's covert operations escalated, the Empire unwittingly helped solidify the Alliance by blaming the rebellion for actions actually carried out by the syndicate. This forced the rebellion deeper into Black Sun's embrace. The greatest advantage Black Sun brought to the rebellion wasn't just credits or weapons, it was infrastructure. For decades, the criminal syndicate had established hidden outposts across the galaxy. Weapon caches, safe houses, and refueling stations existed on thousands of worlds. These now became the backbone of rebel military operations. In the Cathal Outback, a region largely ignored by the Empire, Black Sun had established secret shipyards inside dense nebula. These facilities began retrofitting civilian vessels for combat. Black Sun's elite slicers, among the best in the galaxy, managed to infiltrate Imperial communication protocols. This gave the rebellion unprecedented intelligence on Imperial fleet movements. Financial networks proved equally crucial. Through a labyrinthine system of shell companies and legitimate front businesses, Black Sun could move enormous sums without Imperial detection. Rebel operations that would have been financially impossible became viable. Other criminal organizations began to see the potential in Black Sun's approach. The Hutt Cartel, Pike Syndicate, and others contributed resources, though always careful to maintain plausible deniability. This criminal network made it possible to arm local resistance cells that had previously been isolated. The rebellion was no longer limited to central coordination. It could erupt anywhere. Unlike the idealistic rebellion we know, Black Sun's approach was coldly efficient. They weren't fighting to restore the Republic. They were eliminating a business rival, where the canonical rebellion targeted military installations to minimize civilian casualties. Shizor focused on maximum damage with minimum resources. Shizor's master plan had 3 phases. First, economic disruption. making the Empire look incompetent through carefully orchestrated market crashes and supply shortages. Black Sun manipulated commodities markets, creating artificial inflation on essential goods. They contaminated food supplies bound for Imperial Center, causing widespread illness among government officials. They sabotaged power grids on key administrative worlds, making the Empire seem incapable of maintaining basic services. Second, public unrest, creating just enough hardship to turn the general population against Imperial rule without causing total collapse. Black Sun operatives infiltrated legitimate protest movements, turning peaceful demonstrations violent. They funded separatist groups, religious extremists, and radical political factions, not because they supported their causes, but because chaos served their interests. Meanwhile, they ensured their own criminal operations could provide goods and services the Empire couldn't, making citizens increasingly dependent on illegal markets. The third phase was the most audacious: simultaneous assassination of over 50 Moffs and high-ranking Imperial officials, creating a leadership vacuum. Each assassination was planned years in advance, with multiple backup scenarios. Some targets would die in apparent accidents, others from seeming natural causes, still others in public spectacles designed to maximize psychological impact. The goal wasn't just to kill leaders, but to create lasting terror among those who remained. But Shizor's personal goal remained Vader and the Emperor. He devoted a special Black Sun division solely to finding weaknesses in the Sith Lord's security. This team studied ancient Jedi and Sith texts, seeking vulnerabilities in Force users. They experimented with technology that could potentially neutralize Force abilities. Some even sought out artifacts rumored to grant protection against Force powers. The traditional rebel leadership was horrified by these tactics. They wanted revolution, not mass murder. But they were increasingly dependent on Black Sun's resources. Mon Mothma reportedly threatened to withdraw from the Alliance multiple times, only to be reminded that without Black Sun support, the rebellion would collapse within months. In our alternate timeline, Prince Shizor became the shadow leader of the rebellion, its primary strategist and financier, while Mothma and Organa became increasingly like figureheads. Their speeches still focused on liberty and democracy, but operational decisions aligned more with Black Sun's ruthless pragmatism. Shizor was meticulous. For nearly a year, his agents catalogued every movement the Emperor made, searching for patterns, vulnerabilities, and opportunities. They mapped the Emperor's schedule, identified his few trusted contacts, and even studied his dietary preferences, anything that might create an opening for assassination. Black Sun's involvement changed the rebellion's recruitment. Suddenly, the Hutt cartels found Imperial disruption affecting their operations too. Even Jabba, no friend to any authority, contributed resources to the cause when Imperial ships began seizing his spice shipments without the customary bribes being honored. Smugglers who once worked independently now coordinated their runs, sharing intelligence on Imperial patrol patterns. In this timeline, Han Solo wasn't running from a debt to Jabba. He was working for the Joint Criminal Rebel Alliance. The character of the rebellion changed too. Attacks were less about minimizing casualties and more about maximizing impact. Imperial facilities were hit with brutal efficiency. Public support for the rebellion was more mixed in this timeline. Many welcomed any opposition to the Empire, but others feared trading one oppressor for another. The question on many minds: if Black Sun helps overthrow the Empire, who will keep Black Sun in check afterward? Throughout the Outer Rim, recruitment into the rebellion took on a different character. Former pirates, mercenaries, and even ex-Imperial prisoners were welcomed into the fold. Training standards shifted from ideological commitment to combat effectiveness. In this dark reflection of the Galactic Civil War, even familiar battles played out differently. The Death Star still became operational, but its demonstration target wasn't Alderaan. Luke Skywalker's journey differed dramatically too. Without Ben Kenobi's guidance, the young farm boy's Force sensitivity was first discovered by Black Sun agents seeking potential assets on Outer Rim worlds. His training wasn't dominated by Jedi philosophy, but rather by practical application of his emerging powers. The line between the light and dark sides blurred as Luke learned to use the Force for espionage and combat. The Battle of Yavin still occurred, but with a crucial difference. Rather than a desperate strike by idealistic pilots, it was a meticulously planned operation combining rebel pilots with Black Sun saboteurs who had infiltrated the Death Star months in advance. These infiltrators disabled critical defensive systems just before the attack, explaining why the Empire's supposedly invincible battle station was vulnerable to such a small assault force. The defining moment of our alternate timeline came 3 years after Black Sun joined the rebellion. Operation Crimson Blade targeted the Imperial shipyards at Kuat. Unlike the canonical Battle of Yavin, this wasn't about destroying a superweapon. It was about crippling the Empire's ability to build Star Destroyers. Black Sun operatives eliminated key Imperial engineers, while rebel troops secured the facilities. The goal wasn't destruction, it was theft. In a stunning operation, the combined rebel criminal forces stole enough materials and blueprints to build their own capital ships. Darth Vader himself responded to the attack, but arrived too late. Rebel propaganda claimed this as proof of Imperial weakness. Vader's rage at this failure was catastrophic for Imperial command. 12 senior officers were executed for their incompetence, creating a leadership vacuum in the sector. Deep in the unknown regions, Black Sun technicians began assembling the stolen components. The result wasn't traditional Star Destroyers, but hybrid vessels combining Imperial firepower with Black Sun's stealth technology. For the first time, Palpatine faced the possibility of defeat. His advisors presented evidence that Black Sun's approach was fundamentally different from previous rebellions. This wasn't just armed resistance, it was systematic dismantling of Imperial infrastructure. With the resources seized from Kuat, this criminal-led rebellion posed a genuine threat to the Empire. For the first time, Palpatine faced opponents who matched his ruthlessness. The Emperor had always counted on his enemies being constrained by morality, honor, and compassion. Black Sun operated under no such limitations, but the question remains: had the rebellion lost its soul by embracing Black Sun's methods? And what would have happened if they'd actually won? Would the struggle have been worth it if the New Republic emerged as simply another form of tyranny? Historical analysis suggests many worlds might have rejected both options, potentially creating a three-way civil war between Imperial loyalists, traditional rebels, and Black Sun-controlled territories. Would Prince Xizor have been content to return to the shadows once the Empire fell? Or would the galaxy have traded Imperial tyrants for criminal overlords? The Feline Prince had spent decades building his power base, carefully concealing his true ambitions. With the Empire gone, would he have revealed himself as yet another aspiring emperor? Or perhaps something even more insidious, a Shadow King who controlled the restored Republic through blackmail, assassination, and economic leverage? And there's another question we haven't even considered. In this timeline of moral compromises and unlikely alliances, what would have happened to Luke Skywalker? Without Obi-Wan's guidance, how would his Force sensitivity have developed? Would Black Sun have recognized his potential and recruited him as a weapon against Vader? Would the son of Vader have joined this darker rebellion? Or found another path entirely? Perhaps he would have rejected both the Empire and the criminal-led rebellion, forming a third faction dedicated to restoring the Jedi Order. Or maybe, without proper guidance, his immense Force potential would have developed in unpredictable and dangerous ways. Perhaps most intriguing is how Palpatine might have responded to this existential threat. The Emperor didn't rise to power by being predictable. What desperate measures might he have unleashed when truly cornered? Would he have accelerated the Death Star program, building multiple superweapons? Would he have turned to even darker aspects of the Force, unleashing ancient Sith rituals that he previously considered too dangerous? Or would he have attempted to co-opt the rebellion, offering Xizor legitimacy and power in exchange for eliminating the idealistic elements? Some historians speculate that in such a crisis, Palpatine might have even sought knowledge from his former master, the legendary Darth Plagueis. What forbidden techniques might he have unleashed in his desperation to maintain control? And what would the consequences have been for the galaxy if such dark side powers were fully unleashed? If you've enjoyed this journey through an alternate Star Wars timeline, there are more untold stories waiting to be discovered. Join our growing community of Star Wars enthusiasts who believe in exploring these what-if moments that could have changed the galaxy far, far away. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and activate notifications to catch our next alternative Star Wars story. Each tale offers a new perspective on the characters we love and the choices that define them. Remember to share your thoughts in the comments below. What other pivotal moments in the Star Wars saga would you like to see explored differently? Your ideas might inspire our next adventure. May the Force be with you, always.